Nell Ashcroft came into the front office of the Ashcroft Hotel at 7 o'clock on a Wednesday evening and set the letter on the desk in front of her night manager, Coral Vestry, and said, "Coral, I have to marry someone by Saturday morning, or I lose the hotel." Coral Vestry, 39, plain-faced, unmarried, night manager of the Ashcroft Hotel of Broken Ridge, Colorado, for the 7 years since Nell's late husband, Ned Ashcroft, had died, looked up from the ledger and read the letter. He read it twice. He set it down. He said, "That is the plainest reading of Ned's brother's letter. I do not see any way to read it otherwise." Nell said, "There is no way to read it otherwise, Coral. Alden Ashcroft has served me a demand under Ned's will's residuary clause. If I do not present a Denver notary a marriage certificate by 9 o'clock Saturday morning, Alden takes the whole hotel under the clause that says, 'Property revert to the male line if the surviving widow remains unmarried after 7 years from the death.'" Ned did not know he was signing a residuary clause. I did not know Ned was signing one either. Neither of us read the 5th page of that will. Ned was 31 and thought he was immortal. I was 28 and did not think I would need to know. Alden knew. Alden's Denver attorney knew. Alden waited 7 years to serve it, because 7 years is what the clause says. Coral Vestry said, "Nell." She said, "Coral, it is Wednesday. It is 7 in the evening. Broken Ridge has no eligible bachelors of my acquaintance, except the circuit preacher who cannot marry his own parishioner, the sheriff who is 58 and has a wife in Idaho he never divorced, the 2 Weller brothers who are 15 and 13, and yourself. I am asking you, please marry me on Friday morning at the courthouse. I do not want you to think this is a proposal in the usual sense. I want you to think of it as a proposal in the plain sense. I would like your name on a certificate that I can carry to Denver and put in front of the notary on Saturday morning at 8:59. In return, I will pay you a fair salary as manager of the hotel for the rest of your life, and I will put you on the deed as a joint tenant with a 50% interest that survives me. I am asking you plainly. Please do not answer inside the hour. Please walk around the block. Please come back and answer in 1 hour. I want you to think." Coral Vestry said, "Nell." She said, "Yes." He said, "I have thought about it for 4 minutes. That is enough. I will marry you at the courthouse on Friday morning. Not for the salary, not for the 50%. For a plainer reason I will not say out loud tonight. Do not ask me. Please come back at 11 when the desk boy is on, and we will draft the papers." Nell Ashcroft said, "Coral." He said, "Yes." She said, "Thank you." She walked out. Coral Vestry sat at the desk. He put his forehead against his hand for a full minute. Then he went back to the ledger. The county judge married Coral Vestry and Nell Ashcroft in the courthouse of Broken Ridge at 9 o'clock on Friday morning. Nell wore a plain gray dress. Coral wore his one good coat. Old Mr. Weller from the Mercantile stood witness for Nell. His son Silas stood witness for Coral. The judge, who had known both of them for 11 years, did not comment on the speed. He signed the certificate. He handed it to Nell. Nell took the noon stage to Denver. She took the certificate to the notary at 8:52 on Saturday morning. She had it stamped and filed. Alden Ashcroft's demand was voided at 9:03. She came back on Sunday's stage. She walked into the front office at 3 in the afternoon and set the notarized certificate on the desk in front of Coral. She said, "Coral, it is done. The hotel is ours. In joint tenancy. Ned's residuary clause is dead." Coral said, "Nell." She said, "Yes." He said, "We should get on with the business of the hotel." They got on with it. She kept the west end of the family quarters. He kept the east. They ran the hotel together. They ate breakfast at the plank table in the family kitchen at 6 each morning. They ate supper at the plank table at 7 each evening. Between those hours, they ran a hotel that had 34 rooms and a dining room that seated 60 and a livery of 18 horses. Nell managed the day side. Coral managed the night side. They wrote each other notes in the ledger when they did not see each other for 2 hours. The notes began, in September, to be about small things unrelated to the hotel. Nell wrote in the ledger on the 4th Saturday of September, "Coral, the peach preserves came in. I have set aside 2 jars for you. They are on the shelf by the tin cinnamon." Coral wrote back, Nell, thank you. I ate one at 11 last night. It was the best preserves I have eaten since my mother's. Nell wrote back the next morning, Coral, your mother wrote her recipe in the front of her Bible and left the Bible to me at her death. I did not have the heart to tell you until now. The preserves I made are your mother's preserves. I copied the recipe. Coral did not write back that day. He came into the family kitchen at 7 that evening. He sat opposite her at the plank table. He said, Nell. She said, Coral. He said, may I take your hand for a minute at the table? She said, yes. He took her hand. He held it. He did not speak for a full minute. Then he said, Nell, I have been reading your notes since April, as if they were a plainer courtship than the one we did not do at the courthouse. I have been writing my notes back the same way. I do not want to press you against the terms of our arrangement, but I want to say a plain thing. I was in love with you before you walked into my office on the 4th Wednesday of April. I have been in love with you longer than that. Ned did not know it. I did not tell him. I would not have. He was a good friend. I loved his wife. That is not something a man says to a friend. I am telling it now, because Ned is not here, and because I would rather you knew, and because, if you would rather I go back to my office and never speak of it again, I will do that, and I will keep our arrangement. That is the plainer reason I would not say out loud on the Wednesday. It is the plainer reason I would like you to know. Nell Ashcroft Vestry sat at her plank table and looked at Coral Vestry across her plank table, and did not, for a long moment, speak. She said, Coral. He said, yes. She said, I have been reading your notes since May the same way. I did not know I had been. I have known since August. I have not said. Please stop offering to go back to your office and never speak of it. Please come around the plank table and sit closer. I would like to be married to you in the sense that Ned's residuary clause did not know how to name. Coral Vestry came around the plank table. He sat closer. Nell put her hand along his cheek. She said, husband. He said, wife. 3 years on a warm September evening at the Ashcroft Vestry Hotel, Nell Vestry sat at the family porch of the hotel, with Coral beside her and their small daughter Rachel, 8 months old, asleep against Coral's chest. Alden Ashcroft, defeated on the residuary clause and quietly furious for 3 years since, had moved to Kansas City in the previous spring to run a livery in a small town where he was not known. He had not written to Nell since 1882. He had not been mentioned in a vestry note since the same year. Coral said, Nell. Nell said, Coral. He said, peach preserves are on the shelf again. Nell said, I know. I made 2 extra jars. One for the plank table in September, one for the plank table in December. He said, good. He kissed the top of Rachel's dark head. The pasture behind the hotel went to gold under the September sun. The livery was full. The dining room was serving a crowd of 40. The hotel was theirs. It had been theirs since a 9 o'clock Friday morning at the courthouse of Broken Ridge 3.5 years earlier, and it would be theirs for as long as they both lived. And Nell Ashcroft Vestry, who had walked into her own night manager's office at 7 o'clock on a Wednesday evening with her late husband's brother's letter in her hand, and had asked the plainest question she had ever asked anyone, put her cheek against her husband's shoulder, and understood that the good slow country had, in its good slow way, made her late husband's badly drafted residuary clause the accidental instrument by which she had married the plain honest man she had all along been meant to marry, and had, in that accidental instrument, given her back not the hotel Alden Ashcroft meant to take, but the whole better household under the hotel's own roof. And so it had.